It's kind of funny how complicated life is now. Not because we're chasing big dreams, but because we can't manage the basics. Sleeping on time feels like an achievement. Drinking water needs constant reminders. Going for a walk requires negotiation. Somewhere along the way, simple habits stopped being simple. Every few weeks, I'll make the same quiet promise to myself that I'll sleep on time, fix my routine, or maybe start walking regularly. Nothing extreme, just basic things. And every few weeks, without any big failure or drama, that plan disappears. Not because I decided to quit, it just fades. If that sounds familiar to you, this video is for you. I want to talk about something that sounds almost silly when we say it out loud. But somehow it keeps showing up in our lives again and again. It's not about big goals or dramatic changes. It's about very basic habits that most of us already agree are good for us, but still fail to maintain. Things like sleeping on time, drinking enough water, going for a short walk, exercising a little, eating properly, or even sticking to a simple daily routine. None of this sounds complicated, right? In fact, if someone asked us what we should be doing, we could probably list all of it without thinking. And yet, when it comes to actually doing these things consistently, it feels strangely difficult. Take sleep for example. Most people don't intentionally decide to sleep late every day. The plan is usually very reasonable. Go to bed by 11, wake up on time, fix the schedule slowly, and then what actually happens is that the day gets longer than expected. Work spills over. The phone comes out just for a few minutes and suddenly it's past midnight. The next morning feels heavier. The day feels slower. And by the night, same cycle repeats. At no point does it feel like a conscious choice. It just feels like something that happened. Or take exercise. Most people are not aiming for six packs or intense gym sessions. They just want to move a little, stay active, maybe walk for 20 minutes or stretch regularly. On paper, this feels manageable. But in real life, after a long day, even the idea of changing clothes and stepping out feels exhausting. So the plan gets postponed to tomorrow, and tomorrow turns into next week. And next week quietly turns into I'll restart next month. What makes this confusing is that the same people who struggle with these habits are often very functional in other areas. They manage work deadlines, handle responsibilities, show up for meetings, take care of the family, and deal with everyday stress. From the outside, they look disciplined enough. So the problem clearly isn't that people are incapable or careless. Something else is getting in the way. For a long time, I assumed the issue was motivation or willpower. That's the explanation we hear the most. If you really wanted it, you'd do it. If you were disciplined enough, it wouldn't be so hard. The problem with this explanation is that it doesn't match the reality. People don't suddenly lose discipline when it comes to their own health, while being disciplined everywhere else. What usually changes is the amount of mental energy available. Most days are mentally crowded now. Even when nothing dramatic happens, the mind is constantly processing messages, notifications, unfinished tasks, background worries, and expectations. By the time the day ends, the brain is tired in a way that sleep alone doesn't immediately fix it. When mental energy is low, even simple habits start feeling heavier than they should. Not because they are difficult, but because they require a decision, and decisions costs energy. This is why the habits that look easy in the morning feel impossible at the night. By then, the brain is just looking for relief. Scrolling, watching something familiar, or doing nothing feels easier because it doesn't ask for effort or responsibility. Habits, even healthy ones, still feel like something you have to do. So they get pushed aside, not out of laziness, but out of exhaustion. Another thing that quietly sabotages habits is how we expect them to work. There's this idea that once you start, things should become automatic very quickly. You hear timelines like 20 days or 30 days and assume that after that, habits will run on autopilot. But real life doesn't stay consistent for 30 days straight. Some days are manageable, others are chaotic. Some weeks feel normal, other feels overwhelming for no obvious reason. When habits are built assuming ideal conditions, they fall apart the moment life becomes slightly unpredictable. And when that happens, most people do not restart calmly. They start judging themselves, feel guilty, and then avoid the habit altogether. There's also this issue of rewards. Simple habits don't give immediate feedback. Drinking water today doesn't suddenly make you feel amazing. Sleeping on time for a few days doesn't instantly fix everything. The benefits are slow and subtle. On the other hand, distractions give instant relief. Watching something, scrolling, or lying down immediately changes how you feel, even if it doesn't help long term. The brain naturally leans towards what feels better right now, especially when it's tired. This isn't a personal flaw, it's just how the brain works. Now, what helped me was changing how I approached habits altogether. Instead of treating them like rules that must be followed, I started treating them like flexible practices. On days when energy was low, doing the smallest version was enough. A short walk instead of a workout, sleeping slightly earlier instead of perfectly on time, one glass of water instead of tracking the entire day. This removed the pressure to be consistent in a rigid way and replaced it with the idea of staying connected to the habit, even imperfectly. Another practical shift was attaching habits to things that were already happening. Now, instead of relying on motivation, I relied on routines. Drinking water after a meal, stretching lightly after getting out of bed, walking right after work instead of waiting to feel like it. This reduced the need for negotiation with myself, which was usually where things broke down. Over the time, it became clear that failing to maintain habits wasn't a sign of weakness. It was information. It showed where expectations were unrealistic, where energy was limited, and where the life needs to be adjusted instead of optimized. Now, once I stopped treating habit failure as a personal issue, it became easier to approach it practically. I don't think simple habits are supposed to be this hard. And I don't think most people are as undisciplined as they think they are. Sometimes all that's missing is a better explanation, one that actually fits how life feels day to day. That's why I want this channel to be about making sense of ordinary small problems without overcomplicating them. If that sounds useful to you, you know where the subscribe button is. Alright, I hope you like it.